I wish I could wed her, I murmured. The alien princess smiled and said, then you shall. Best HFY Stories. The sun hung low over the red plains of Tawari Prime, casting long shadows across the dusty ground. Jace Calloway rode his hover horse slowly, the hum of its anti-gravity engines mingling with the soft wind that stirred the dry grass. He squinted at the horizon, where jagged cliffs met the bright orange sky. Life on Tawari Prime was hard, but it had its own kind of freedom. Jace liked it that way. Out here, a man could think, work, and breathe without anyone telling him what to do. He guided his robotic herd through the valley, the machines clanking softly with each step. The herd was a strange mix of old-world cattle designs and high-tech sensors, able to survive the harsh landscape without human care. Jace had inherited them from his father, who had once been a famous rancher on Earth. Sometimes, Jace wondered if he would ever leave the frontier, but something in his chest always reminded him that this wide, empty land was his home. As he rode, he noticed a shimmer of light in the distance. It wasn't the usual glare of the sun on metal or dust. It was something new, something foreign. His curiosity nudged him forward. Slowly he approached the shimmer, which resolved into a series of elegant structures that seemed to float above the ground. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Smooth, silver buildings that reflected the red light of the twin suns, their surfaces alive with patterns that seemed almost alive. Jace dismounted his hover horse and approached cautiously. From inside one of the structures, a figure emerged. She moved with grace and confidence, her long silver hair catching the sunlight. Her skin shimmered faintly in colors he had no name for, like the light of distant nebulae. She wore flowing robes that changed color as she walked, soft fabrics that seemed impossible for the harsh environment. Jace's heart skipped. He had heard the stories, rumors of an alien princess visiting the human colonies on the edge of space, but he had never imagined meeting her. She smiled, a quiet, knowing smile that made him stumble over his words. "Hello," he said, tipping his wide-brimmed hat. "I'm Jace Calloway. I wasn't expecting visitors like you out here." The alien princess laughed softly, a sound like music carried by the wind. "I am Lara," she said. "I come from a world far beyond your stars. I have come to observe and learn about human life, and perhaps to understand your ways." Jace blinked. He had faced storms, sand devils, and mechanical cattle running wild, but talking to a real alien princess made him nervous in a way he had never felt before. "Well, you've picked a strange place for a visit," he said, trying to sound casual. "Tawari Prime isn't exactly fancy." Lyra tilted her head, her eyes sparkling like distant galaxies. "It is beautiful," she said simply. "I like to see the world through the eyes of those who call it home." "You seem..." "That is rare." Jace scratched the back of his neck. "I guess I am," he admitted. "I've been out here all my life. Herding cattle, fixing machines, making sure the dust doesn't eat everything. Life's simple. Nothing like the stories I hear about space palaces and grand ceremonies." "You think simplicity is easy," Liara said, stepping closer. "But it takes strength and patience to live as you do. That is why I am here. To see courage in the ordinary, not just the extraordinary." Something in her voice made Jace feel both embarrassed and proud. He looked at the horizon, the sun dipping lower, and whispered more to himself than to her. I wish I could wed her." For a moment, the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then Liara smiled. A slow, gentle smile, one that lit up the space around her. "Then you shall," she said. Jace froze. Did she just say what he thought she said? He opened his mouth, then closed it again, unsure how to respond. Did you mean that?" he asked finally, his voice rough from surprise. Lyra's smile deepened. "Perhaps," she said, her eyes twinkling. "But first, you must understand what it means to marry someone from my world. It is not just about love, it is about trust, courage, and respect. You must show these qualities if you truly wish to join me." Jace felt a shiver of excitement mixed with fear. He had never thought of himself as someone who could face trials for a princess, but now the idea seemed thrilling, like a story out of the legends his father used to tell. I'll do whatever it takes," he said, surprising himself with the confidence in his voice. Liara nodded approvingly. "Good. Then begin by learning about me, and by showing the best of what it means to be human. You have courage and heart, Jace. These will guide you." Over the next few hours, she led him through her camp. It was unlike any settlement he had seen. Structures floated in the air, lights shifted colors without electricity, and strange plants thrived in artificial gardens. She explained her people's customs, their respect for life, and their fascination with human resilience. Jace listened, fascinated, trying to absorb every detail. They walked through a grove of glowing trees where the air smelled sweet and sharp at the same time. Liara paused and looked at him. "Tell me, Jace, what do you value most in your life?" He thought about his herd, the wide plains, the quiet moments when the sky seemed endless. "Freedom," he said finally, "and honesty, and maybe a life that means something." Liara studied him for a long moment. "Then you are ready to begin. The journey will not be easy, but it will teach you more than you know." As the twin suns sank below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of purple and gold, Jace felt a new sense of purpose. He had always been content with the frontier, but now a greater adventure awaited him, one that stretched across stars and worlds. He felt both small and infinite, like the plains themselves had opened into the universe. Before he left, Liara handed him a small, glowing orb. "This is a token," she explained. "It will help guide you. Keep it close, and remember the path you have chosen. Courage, kindness, and patience will be your greatest tools." Jace held the orb, feeling its warmth seep into his hands. "I won't let you down," he promised. Liara's smile shone even brighter as she whispered, almost to herself, "I know you won't, Jace Calloway. I know you won't." He mounted his hover horse and watched as she returned to her camp, the light from the structures reflecting in her eyes like stars. The plains seemed both the same and completely different. He felt the weight of the coming trials, and yet he felt ready, for the first time in his life, to meet whatever lay ahead. As he rode back toward his herd, the wind brushing against his face, Jace couldn't help but grin. Life on Tuwari Prime had just become a story worth telling, and he was determined to live it fully. Somewhere in the distance, the twin suns disappeared behind the cliffs, but Jace felt a light inside him that no horizon could ever hide. And for the first time he truly believed that he could be worthy of the alien princess who had smiled at him, and spoken words that felt like magic. "Then you shall." The next morning, Jace woke to the soft hum of Tawari Prime's wind turbines and the low calls of his robotic herd. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the twin suns cast a gentle warmth across the plains. But today, Jace's mind was not on cattle or chores. Today he was thinking about Liara and the words she had spoken the evening before. "Then you shall." He had no idea what it truly meant to marry an alien princess. It sounded magical, like something from a storybook. But Lara had warned him it would not be easy. "Courage, kindness, and patience will be your greatest tools," she had said. Jace had a feeling he would soon discover how right she was. As he finished feeding the robotic herd, a soft shimmer appeared in front of him, hovering in the air like a gentle star. He blinked. It was Lara. "Good morning, Jace," she said, her voice warm and melodic. "Are you ready for your first trial?" Jace swallowed hard. "Trial?" he asked, trying to hide his nervousness. "Yes," Liara said. "To prove your worth, you must learn to navigate a challenge that tests your courage, your patience, and your understanding of others. This trial is simple in appearance, but it will reveal much about your heart." Jace nodded. Even though he had no idea what to expect, he trusted her. If anyone could guide him through something extraordinary, it was Lara. They walked together toward the floating structure she had arrived in. At the center of the camp stood a large circular platform, shimmering with soft light. In the middle of it floated a holographic map of Tuwari Prime, showing hills, valleys, and rivers, but also strange markers he could not recognize. "This is your first trial," Liara said. "You must guide a lost group of robotic travelers across Tuwari Prime, from here to the Valley of Whispering Winds. They may seem simple machines, but they are programmed to test your patience and judgment. Their survival depends on your decisions."
Jace's eyes widened.
"You mean I'm supposed to herd them?" Liara laughed softly. "In a way, yes. But this is no ordinary herd. You must consider the terrain, their needs, and the unexpected obstacles that will appear. Only by showing care and foresight will you succeed." Jace took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." The robotic travelers were small, round machines with blinking lights and gentle humming sounds. They looked harmless, but their movements were unpredictable. Jace quickly realized that he could not simply command them. He had to understand them. He studied their patterns, learning when they moved too fast, when they needed rest, and when they would wander toward danger. Hours passed as he guided them over hills, across shallow rivers, and through groves of glowing trees. Each step required attention and patience. Some machines wandered off course, drawn to the shimmering plants, and Jace had to redirect them carefully using both logic and gentle encouragement. At one point, a small group of travelers approached a cliff. Jace froze, realizing that they would tumble if they continued. He needed a plan. Scanning the surroundings, he found a sturdy vine-like plant stretching across the gap. Using a combination of his rope skills and careful timing, he guided the travelers over the gap, one by one. Lyra watched silently from above, her expression unreadable. Jace's heart pounded with each successful crossing, but he knew this trial was far from over. As the sun began to lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, the robotic travelers hesitated at the edge of a narrow canyon. The path seemed impossible. Jace studied the terrain, thinking about the lessons his father had taught him about the frontier: patience, observation, and resourcefulness. He noticed that the canyon walls were dotted with small glowing plants. Their light pulsed gently, revealing a hidden path along the edge. Carefully, he guided the travelers along this path, using small signals in his voice to reassure them. One by one they followed, never falling, always trusting his direction. When the last traveler reached the other side, Jace exhaled deeply. He had done it. He had completed the trial. Liara descended gracefully from her hovering platform, her eyes sparkling. You see, Jace? Courage is not only about facing danger, it is about patience, creativity, and the care you show for others. You have passed the first test. Jace's chest swelled with pride. Really? That was only the first? He asked, half laughing and half exhausted.
Lara smiled. Yes.
But there is more. The first trial tests your mind and your heart. The next will test your spirit and your ability to connect with others. They rested for a moment by a crystal-clear stream, where small, iridescent fish swam in patterns that seemed almost like a dance. Jace refilled his water flask and watched the twin suns dip lower. Liara, why me? There are probably hundreds of humans who could do these trials. She looked at him, her gaze gentle but piercing. Because you do not think only of yourself. You care, Jace. You act with thoughtfulness and heart. These qualities are rare, even among humans. That is why you were chosen. Jace felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the suns. He smiled shyly, unsure what to say. I'll try to keep proving myself, he said. Lara laughed softly. You do not need to try, Jace. You simply must be yourself. The next trial began the following day. This time it was different. Instead of guiding travelers, Jace was asked to help an alien community prepare for a festival. The festival celebrated harmony between humans and Liara's people, but it was also a test of Jace's ability to learn quickly and adapt to unfamiliar customs. He learned to fold luminescent fabrics into patterns he had never seen before, to arrange floating lanterns in precise formations, and to participate in dances that defied gravity. At first, he stumbled, his cowboy instincts clashing with the fluid movements of the alien traditions. But Liara was patient, guiding him with quiet encouragement. By the end of the day, the festival was ready. Jace stood back, watching the lights glow, the music fill the air, and the aliens smile with joy. He realized something important. Courage was not just about facing danger, and patience was not just about waiting. Sometimes it was about listening, observing, and finding the best way to help others shine. Lyra approached him, her silver hair glowing in the light of the floating lanterns. You are learning quickly, Jace, she said. But the most important lesson is this. Trust is earned through kindness, understanding, and respect. You have shown all of these qualities today. Jace felt a surge of happiness. For the first time, he understood that the trials were not just about proving himself to Liara. They were about becoming the kind of person who could truly share a life with her, across worlds. As night fell, Jace and Liara sat on a gentle hill overlooking the plains. The twin moons rose, casting a silver glow across the land. I never imagined life could be like this, Jace said softly. Challenging, yes, but magical too. Liara smiled. It is always magical when hearts are open, Jace. Remember, the journey is just beginning. Many challenges await, but you are ready to face them. Jace looked at her, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I hope so. I don't want to fail you. You won't, Liara said, her voice firm but warm. I see who you are, and that is enough, for now. As they sat together under the stars, Jace realized that the frontier he had always loved was only the beginning. Beyond the plains, beyond the twin suns and shimmering deserts, lay a universe full of wonder, challenges, and possibilities. And he would face it all, not just for adventure, but for the chance to share his life with Lyra. He held the glowing orb she had given him, feeling its warmth a reminder of the bond forming between them. The trials would grow harder, but for the first time, Jace felt ready. He was not alone. He had courage, heart, and now a purpose bigger than himself. And as he looked at Liara, her eyes reflecting the stars above, he whispered softly, almost to himself, "I will do whatever it takes for you." Liara smiled, her gaze steady. "And that, Jace Calloway, is the beginning of everything." The twin suns rose over Tawari Prime, spilling gold and orange across the dusty plains. Jace Calloway sat on his hover horse, looking at the horizon. Life had already changed in ways he never imagined. The first 2 trials had tested his patience, courage, and kindness, but he sensed that the challenges ahead would test him in ways far beyond the frontier he knew so well. Liara approached, her silver robes catching the sunlight. She moved with her usual grace, but her expression was serious this morning. "Jace," she said, "today you face a trial unlike the others. It is no longer about skill or patience. It is about wisdom, diplomacy, and understanding. You must navigate a challenge that could affect both humans and my people." Jace frowned. "Diplomacy?" he asked. "I've never been good at that. Out here, the only talks we have are over water rights or herd boundaries." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then you will learn. And you will not be alone." They traveled to a silver platform that floated above the plains, larger than any Jace had seen before. From here, Liara could communicate with her people across the stars. Today, they had an urgent message. A rival noble from Liara's system, Lord Velan, had arrived on Tawari Prime. He demanded her return immediately. His people did not believe that a human could be worthy of Liara, and they intended to enforce their claim if necessary. Jace felt a knot in his stomach. He had faced wild terrains, robotic travelers, and alien festivals, but this was different. This was a political challenge, and it required more than courage. It required brains, tact, and heart. Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember, Jace, courage comes in many forms. Sometimes it is in actions, and sometimes it is in the choices we make. Today, your courage will be shown through understanding, patience, and cleverness." The 2 of them waited as Lord Velan's ship descended. It was enormous, sleek, and intimidating, shining like polished silver against the sky. Soon, a delegation stepped out, led by a tall, imposing alien with sharp features and eyes like dark stars. He bowed curtly to Liara, then turned to Jace. "You are the human who claims to be worthy of Princess Liara?" Velan asked. His voice was deep, but not cruel, only firm. "I hope you understand the seriousness of your position." Jace swallowed. I do," he said, his voice steady, "and I hope we can find a solution that works for everyone." Velan raised an eyebrow. "We shall see." The first task was simple on paper, but tricky in practice. They were to demonstrate a symbol of unity between humans and Lyra's people. Lord Velan insisted that any gesture must show respect for both cultures. Jace realized immediately that this was more than a test. It was a delicate dance. One wrong move and he could insult Lyra's people or fail to represent humans properly. He began by observing the alien customs, noting the importance of symmetry, light, and shared effort. Then he thought about his own heritage, the plains, the cattle, the hard work humans respected. He decided to create a display that combined both cultures, a series of floating lanterns in a circular pattern, accompanied by symbolic ribbons woven from native plants of Tawari Prime. With Lyra's guidance, Jace placed the ribbons carefully, folding them into designs that mirrored alien motifs he had studied. The lanterns floated above, glowing softly, shifting color to harmonize with the ribbons. For hours they worked together, adjusting angles, patterns, and light intensity. Jace discovered that diplomacy, like herding, required observation, patience, and intuition. Finally, Lord Velan stepped forward. He examined the display carefully, tilting his head. For a long moment, no words were spoken. Jace's heart raced. Had he failed? Then, slowly, Velan nodded. "This is acceptable," he said. "It shows respect for my people while honoring the humans who live here. You have done well, human." Jace exhaled in relief, but Lyra was not finished. "The display is only the beginning," she said. "Now you must address the concerns of the council. They doubt that a human can understand the responsibilities of a union with a princess. You must show them your understanding and your wisdom." Jace swallowed and nodded. He stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "I may be human, and I may not know all your customs perfectly," he began. "But I promise this. I will always act with honesty, patience, and respect. I will listen, learn, and do everything I can to honor Liara and her people. I believe that humans and your people can learn from each other and grow stronger together. I do not ask for trust blindly, but I ask for a chance to prove it every day." For a moment there was silence. Then Lyra's eyes lit up with pride. Valen studied Jace intently, his expression unreadable. Finally he spoke. "Words are easy, actions are what matter. But I see thought, care, and heart in you. Perhaps you are worthy of the path you seek." Jace felt a mix of relief and excitement. The first part of this diplomatic trial had been successful, but he knew it was not over. There were more steps to navigate, more misunderstandings to prevent, and more opportunities to demonstrate his character. That evening, Liara guided him to a floating garden where alien flowers glowed in rhythm with the moons above. "Jace," she said softly, "today you have learned the value of understanding, patience, and clear thinking. Tomorrow, the challenge will be personal, testing your courage in matters of the heart." Jace looked at her, curious. "Courage in matters of the heart? I thought that was like this whole thing?" Liara smiled. "That is the foundation, yes, but there is more to love than words and actions. You must show empathy, kindness, and honesty when it matters most. There will be a situation where you must choose wisely, not just bravely." As they walked back to the plains, Jace realized how much he had grown in just a few days. He had learned to guide travelers, to respect customs, to listen and act thoughtfully. And now he faced challenges that would test not only his skill and intelligence, but also his integrity and compassion. The next morning, a delegation from Liara's homeworld arrived unexpectedly. They brought with them a complex puzzle, a communication network connecting humans and aliens, which had been malfunctioning. Jace's task was to repair it, but the challenge was more subtle than mechanical. The network required understanding both human and alien logic, blending them in a way that allowed cooperation rather than control. Hours passed. Jace studied the patterns, tested sequences, and worked patiently. Lyra offered quiet guidance, but let him solve the problem using his own reasoning. Slowly, steadily, the network came to life. Lights blinked in harmony, signaling a connection between the two worlds. The delegation observed in silence, then one of them spoke. "This human has learned to respect both our ways. He has thought carefully, acted with care, and honored our traditions. He is capable." Jace exhaled, a smile spreading across his face. For the first time, he felt that he was truly bridging the gap between worlds. That evening, under the twin moons, Liara and Jace sat together on a hill overlooking the plains. "You have done well, Jace," Liara said softly. "Your courage, patience, and understanding have been shown. But remember, the trials are not yet complete. The greatest challenges will come not from tests, but from the choices you make in the real world, choices of the heart and of responsibility." Jace nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. He had always believed in the frontier, in the wide open spaces where a man could make his own path. But now he understood that the universe held challenges far larger than he had ever imagined, and yet he did not feel fear. He felt determination, hope, and a growing love for the princess who had believed in him from the start. As they watched the moons rise, Jace whispered softly, almost to himself, "I will do everything I can for you, Liara. I promise." Lyra smiled, resting her hand on his. "And that, Jace, is what makes you worthy. Not your skill, not your cleverness, but your heart. The path ahead may be difficult, but together we can face anything." For the first time, Jace realized the truth of her words. Love, courage, patience, and understanding were all parts of the same journey. The frontier was no longer just a land of dust and plains. It was a bridge between worlds, a place where hearts and minds could connect across the stars. And as the twin moons shone over Tawari Prime, Jace felt ready for whatever trials awaited him next. Because he was no longer just a frontier cowboy. He was a man who had begun to understand the universe and his place within it, by the side of an alien princess who had smiled and said, "Then you shall." The morning sun rose over Tawari Prime, casting a soft golden light across the red plains. Jace Calloway stood at the edge of the cliffs, looking out at the floating structures where Liara's people had built a temporary city for the wedding. The air was filled with gentle hums and shimmering lights, and everywhere he looked, aliens and humans worked side by side, preparing for a celebration that would unite their worlds. Jace's heart raced. After the trials, the festivals, and the challenges of diplomacy, today was the day everything came together. Today, he would stand with Liara, the alien princess who had smiled at him and said, "Then you shall." Liara appeared beside him, her silver robes flowing in the warm wind. Her eyes sparkled brighter than ever, reflecting the light of the twin suns. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Jace took a deep breath, gripping the small glowing orb she had given him at the beginning of their journey. "I think so," he said. "I've learned so much, but I've also realized there's no one else I'd rather face the future with than you." Liara smiled and placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Then let us begin." The ceremony was set in a wide plaza above the plains, decorated with floating lanterns, ribbons of glowing plants, and crystal pillars that reflected light in endless patterns. Humans and aliens had combined their traditions. Cowboy hats hung beside alien headdresses, familiar music blended with strange instruments, and tables were set with foods from both worlds. The guests gathered, a mix of Tawari ranchers, robotic travelers, and alien nobles. Jace felt a nervous excitement. He had faced trials, solved puzzles, and even navigated diplomacy. But standing here, about to join Liara in marriage, felt different. It was a test of his heart, and he hoped he was ready. Liara approached the center of the plaza, her steps graceful yet confident. She wore a gown that seemed woven from light itself, reflecting every color of the plains below. Jace followed, adjusting his own attire, simple but carefully chosen to honor both his human heritage and the elegance of her people. The officiant was a wise alien elder who had watched Jace throughout his trials. He spoke in a melodic voice, blending Lyra's language with human words. "Today," he began, "we celebrate not only the union of two hearts, but the joining of two worlds. This marriage represents courage, patience, understanding, and love. These are the qualities that Jace Calloway has shown throughout every trial." Jace glanced at Lyra, whose silver eyes met his. He could see pride and warmth there, and a gentle trust that made him feel stronger than he had ever felt before. The elder continued, "Do you, Jace Calloway, promise to honor, respect, and support Liara, Princess of the Star System Zafara, as her partner, her friend, and her equal?" "I do," Jace said firmly, feeling every word in his chest. "And do you, Lyra, Princess of Zafara, promise to honor, respect, and support Jace Calloway, human of Tawari Prime, as your partner, your friend, and your equal?" "I do," Lyra said, her voice as gentle as the morning breeze. The elder nodded, smiling. "Then, by the light of the twin suns and the witness of both human and alien worlds, I declare you united." A hush fell over the plaza, followed by cheers, claps, and laughter. Lanterns floated higher, ribbons shimmered in the wind, and the crowd erupted in joyful celebration. Jace and Liara turned to face their friends and families, holding hands, hearts beating in unison. After the formal ceremony, the celebration continued. Jace watched as humans and aliens danced together, sharing stories, foods, and games. He even tried some alien dances, stumbling at first but laughing as Lyra guided him. For the first time, the boundaries between worlds felt small, and the joy of connection felt enormous. Lyra leaned close, her voice soft. "You know, Jace, I was nervous at first. My people were unsure, and the trials were designed to test every part of you." Jace smiled. "I was nervous too, but it was worth it. Every challenge, every mistake, every strange step, I'd do it all again if it brought me here." She laughed lightly, the sound like a wind chime carried on the breeze. "You've done more than prove yourself. You've shown the courage, patience, and heart that make you worthy, not only of me, but of the trust of my people. And that is rare, even among humans." Jace blushed, feeling a warmth in his chest. "I didn't do it for approval. I did it because I care about you. And that, Jace," Lyra said, her hand squeezing his, "is why we belong together." As the day progressed, the celebrations turned into playful competitions between humans and aliens. Races across the plains on hover horses, games of strategy that tested wit and teamwork, and musical performances blending instruments from both worlds. Jace laughed more in one day than he had in months, feeling completely alive. But amid the festivities, there was a quiet moment that stood out. Jace and Liara walked to the edge of the cliffs, watching the twin suns begin to set. The sky turned gold, then orange, then purple, reflecting across the plains below. It was a perfect, serene moment, a reminder of everything they had overcome. "Do you remember when we first met?" Liara asked softly. Jace nodded. "I thought you were from a dream. Something impossible. And now, here we are." Lyra smiled, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "You have grown so much, Jace, from a frontier cowboy to a man capable of bridging worlds." He looked at her, taking both her hands in his. "I wouldn't be here without your guidance or your belief in me." "You've made me see what I'm capable of, and I love you, Liara. More than I can say." Her eyes shimmered, reflecting the twin sun's last light. "And I love you, Jace." You've shown me that humans are more than I imagined, that courage, kindness, and heart can shine brighter than any star." They embraced, feeling the wind sweep over the cliffs and the plains below. In that moment, all the trials, challenges, and lessons seemed to fall away. There was only them, the universe, and the promise of the life they would share. As darkness fell, lanterns floated upward, illuminating the plaza like a sky of tiny stars. Music and laughter echoed across Tawari Prime, human and alien alike celebrating the union that symbolized hope, understanding, and love. Jace felt a gentle tug on his sleeve. One of the alien elders handed him a small glowing plant. "This is a gift," the elder said. "It represents life, growth, and unity. May it remind you always of the bond you have created today." Jace nodded, holding the plant carefully. He glanced at Liara, who was watching him with a smile full of pride and affection. Together they placed the plant at the center of the plaza, where its light shimmered, blending with the lanterns and ribbons, a symbol of a new beginning. Finally, as the night deepened and the stars of Tawari Prime sparkled like diamonds, Jace and Liara stood hand in hand on the cliff, overlooking the plains they both loved. "I never imagined life could feel this full," Jace said softly. Liara rested her head against his shoulder. "And it will only grow fuller, Jace. Together we can face anything, adventures, trials, and the unknown. The universe is wide, but our hearts will guide us." Jace smiled, feeling a deep peace settle over him. "Then let's face it together," he whispered, and as the twin moons rose over Tawari Prime, their light mingling with the golden glow of the twin suns now set, Jace Calloway and Princess Liara stood united. Their journey had begun with a whispered wish, continued through trials and challenges, and now culminated in love, respect, and a bond that bridged worlds. The plains stretched endlessly before them, a horizon of possibilities, adventures, and stories yet to be told. But for now, they simply stood together, hearts full, ready to embrace whatever the universe had in store. For Jace and Liara, the frontier had expanded from the red plains of Tawari Prime to the infinite expanse of the stars, and their love, born of courage, patience, and understanding, would shine as brightly as the twin suns forever.